Alright, so today we are doing the Impaktech rear handbrake bracket with some core moto lines, rear Brembo P32 caliper that's going on the bracket, and a Magura HC1 13mm master cylinder on Sydney's Grom. This is our first video ever. Sydney's no. Alright, so again, the Impaktech rear handbrake bracket. We are gonna start by loosening and sliding out our rear axle to get the rear brake off, and start putting on the bracket, and then we'll get with the Brembo and the P32. So let's go. So 19 mil on the nut side, 14mm on the bolt head side. Right out. I have 2 pieces of wood and a piece of PVC plastic, so my wheel doesn't fall when I slide out the axle. Just like that, it slides out. This guy slides right off of here, which is where the block will slide in when going back on. Just like that. Just as easy as that, actually. I already did this once on my Grom, which is in there, and that was painstaking learning, so I figured why not do it for everybody else to see on how to do it. So I need a 12mm socket, which remove that nut. We are gonna pop this little cap off. Sydney is gonna hand me a 5mm Hex Bit. Nope, that's the 6, that's the 5. It goes in there. This makes it easier to get the pads back in when you're putting it back onto the Impaktech bracket. There's one pad. And here's the other. Alright, the pads are out. We're going to slide the stock bracket off the caliper. There is a little space for your Allen key right here, and we're gonna just slide it off. Finally broke loose. Alright. You're gonna hand me another 12mm, please? This one, but I might need a socket. Yep. Just gonna use the socket. An impact helps greatly. You're gonna need a little clip off your stock, because this is gonna go onto the Impaktech caliper bracket. It's all off. This is gonna go. So if you look at this side and this side, they're pretty much a mirror image of each other. This is just CNC aluminum. So the clip goes back right here, just like it did on your stock application. Alright, so putting the bracket on, you're gonna take that pin, most forward pin that you took off of the stock caliper bracket, put it on here, put the nut back on. You can Loctite this one if you want. I'm not going to do this one. Give that a nice good and tight. The rear pin, I'm going to put a drop of Loctite on this one. There we go. Alright. Right in to the second hole. Just like that. This guy gets a 12 mil. Alright. That's good. We are going to lube our pins a little bit. Just to help the caliper slide back and forth a little bit better. And then put your caliper onto your bracket. Just like so. Slide it right back into the pins. And even pressure. Alright, so I should have actually probably loosened this guy first. Can you hand me 8mm? This thing is way overkill for this, but I'll move that. And that just makes it easier to get this caliper bracket in place. Make sure you don't lose this little clip. If you do, the orientation looks like that. Nice and simple. While you're here, decompress your piston for the caliper to make it easier to slide your brake pads in. So go from front to the back. You're going to put the block into the little slide here. Make sure that your axle spacer is still in place, and then just put that, slide it forward like so. There we go. And then slide your axle through. Just have to align your axle into. There we go. Perfect. And it makes it so much easier when your wheel doesn't fall with a small little couple pieces of wood and ABS plastic that we had. Actually, put this back just to tighten down the swing arm a little bit. If I knew where my 19mm was. Roll away. Alright, brief intermission to find my 19mm. I was under a rag. For us, we put an axle slider on, so it'll go back on with an axle slider. The 19mm. And I'm just gonna snug it and then I'll torque it with final torques at the end. And that's good. Alright, so stock calipers back on. We're gonna put the stock brake pads back on. Perfect. Where's that little cap? Put your little cap back on. Just so that shit doesn't seize. Alright, so the trick that I figured out while I was doing this for the second time is while you're putting in that first brake pad, make sure this brake pad isn't in, push it all the way forward to where your caliper is pretty much almost going to contact the rotor. Slide the brake pad in onto this clip right here on the back side, and then push it up, put your pin in to hold it, and then slide the caliper back that way on the pins to where the brake pad is now touching your rotor on this side, and then slide it, push it up, and as you saw. So with all that in, I am going to move to putting on the P32. These are the bolts. They are M8 by 1.25. I don't remember the exact length, but I'll get that to you and put it at the bottom of the video. So we did P32, so 2 piston caliper, just because I don't think that we need a P34 on a Grom, but we can always upgrade if we want. Cool part about this guy is that it does take a P32 or P34 on the rear. We are gonna spread out the brake pads just so they go onto the rotor. So you want them to open up. Back to what I was saying. You just want to make sure your brake pads are open so the caliper slides into the rotor properly. I just used a flathead, and Sydney looks so bored right now. She's being a great camera woman.
I was falling asleep.
Are you really? You're falling asleep?
Yeah.
This is your bike.
It's my second wind. We got up too early.
Yeah, we did go to Cars and Coffee earlier. But P32 is ready to go on. Brake pads are spread open. So easy.
And it goes on there so nicely.
Yeah, so much easier than stock. Impaktech, can we make a dual P32, P34 caliper? Please? Because that would be awesome. Alright. So, let's move that guy out of the way. We did do P32 calipers with interchangeable bleeder valves. So I'm going to swap the bleeder valve to the top just because it's easier to bleed. Alright, brake line install. I did a core moto line. Sydney did purple, 65 inch. I did something a little different than everybody else does. Trying to figure out which one's which. Okay, so this is the rear. I did a 10 degree down, 10 degree, what is it, right? Yeah, 10 degree down, 10 degree right bend. Just to give this a little more clearance from the rear wheel, pushes it out and pushes it down and back. It came out really good on mine, and then I did a 20 degree bend for our master cylinder that's going to go for on our handlebar, but we'll get to that. And then I did 3 bushings, and we'll talk through that now, but we're going to take a break because I need water. Hydrate. Alright, we're going to install the brake line onto the bike. So this is going to be our back. I don't know if you can see that very well. Is it focusing in? Mm-hmm. Alright, so 10 degree down bend, 10 degree right bend, and that's going to go back here. Just a heads up, when you do order a brand new P32 caliper. It does not come with a banjo fitting, so you will have to get it with whatever kit you do buy, and make sure it comes in with it, and just thread that bad boy in. There we go. I'm gonna do everything loose until I get ready to start bleeding, just in case I need to make adjustments. I'm not crushing these copper washers just yet, so literally just hand tight pretty much. And that's why I did the 10-degree bend, because it'll push it back in versus pushing it out. I just think it looks better, it functions better, all that good stuff. So I'm gonna take this line and I'm gonna run it pretty much right around the stock, where the stock line is. I picked up this P-clip at Lowe's. It works great. It fits on here, no problem. And then it will just go like this with the stock bolt. I'm gonna literally just put it so it's opposite of the stock location. Just like that, and it'll hold it up very nicely. You can still adjust as needed, and that'll work perfectly. Next one, I am gonna put so this guy, I'm gonna run it behind here. This guy will come here like this. So slide under, up, slide this guy in like that, and this one will go underneath it. This is the stock rear line if you've changed it. If you are running a stock line, this isn't going to work. You'll probably have to put it on the backside and just zip tie it. But since we're running full core moto, they both fit right here perfectly. And then I'm going to zip tie it together once we get final routing and all that good stuff done. You're gonna run the line behind this cable right here, underneath the gas tank and through this side. Right. And that will give you plenty of brake line. Once it's through there, you come up through the back of the triple tree. I have a zip tie over here, or I'll zip tie it here, and this is where the Maguro sit. Our 65-inch line is in. I have torqued down the banjo fitting on the caliper. I already put blue Loctite on both caliper mounting bolts. Zip tied the line onto the swing arm frame. P-clip is on. I zip tied this third one. I don't know if you can see it up here. I zip tied that guy in place. And now, since this guy sits so high, or so much higher, I just don't like things rubbing, so I am cutting the factory rear fender to accommodate for that. So basically what I did is I put it on as it would normally sit, which is right here. Just put a small little mark, how high it goes. Take it off, use a small little grinding wheel on a Dremel, and just take your time and be patient, honestly. And make it look good. Alright, so Dremel cutting is done. This is what it looks like now. I'm just going to take you through the routing of the line one last time. Alright, so caliper up and over. P-clip that we got from the electrical section at Lowe's. Works great. Zip ties on each side of the grommets. Up and through the small wiring harness. It comes through the back right here. I need to put a zip tie there. Underneath the fuel tank. I'm going to turn the bars a little bit. Over the air cleaner. Needs a zip tie here. I'm just going to keep this one loose so it flexes when the forks move back and forth. And then it's going to come up and over to the Magura. So next up on the docket is to install the Magura master cylinder. Doing that, we're going to take off our stock high low beam horn turn signal switch and swap it for this thin guy that I spent like 5 hours soldering yesterday. This is if you run a brake switch, which I'm not going to wire a brake switch in onto a handbrake, so I just don't care that much. It just unscrews by this little screw and comes off. Very nicely. This is a 5/64. Alright, so Magura goes on pretty much just where you like it, honestly. Feel it out, see where it feels like. You can always adjust afterwards too. So I'm just gonna put hours here for now. So it can work just fine right here, especially for bleeding. Tighten it on. And then we gotta get the mount that comes with the reservoir tank, modify it a little bit, so just give it a bend and shave down some of the sides. And then we got a Tygon tube from Amazon that we will use for our brake line to loop around. And I'm going to do this all off camera because it's going to take a little bit, and I'll show you what it looks like once it's all done. All right, we are back, day 2. The bike's done. So Magura HC1 13mm master cylinder is on. Forgot to close this guy. Bled. It's actually a really easy bleed, easier than when I did my bike. So what I did was I brought this guy, laid it flat as if it was a regular master cylinder, and just pulled this backwards for while I bled it. This line right here I had suspended from this, just pulling it straight up and down so all the air would go up. backbled it through the master cylinder bleeder screw, and then did a vacuum bleed. This is a lifesaver if you're ever doing brakes and bleeding them, and the result is a very, very responsive master cylinder and brake lever. So that is the line. Key comes down and goes into the front of the bike, like I showed you the routing before, and all of that is good to go. I just got to put the headlight back on. Switches all work now. High beam, low beam works, horn, all that good stuff. And then once I bled the master cylinder, I came back here and did a vacuum or back bleed onto the caliper, just to fill it with fluid, and then I vacuum bled this guy as well. I actually ended up cracking these bolts loose, lifting it so it was parallel to the ground, and doing a couple manual hand bleeds on it as well, and it worked out perfectly. There's still some Loctite, so I Loctite these two guys as well, and the bike is pretty much back together. We'll get an after shot of both the bikes with everything installed, but it is done and complete.